I'm Natalie, 32, perched on the edge of a sagging twin bed in what used to be my childhood bedroom, now a guest room with faded floral wallpaper curling at the corners. The air smells faintly of dust and lavender, a scent left over from my mother's old sachets tucked in the drawers. A single bulb flickers in the lamp, casting jagged shadows across the ceiling. Tomorrow, my sister Janice throws her 30th birthday party at her sleek mansion, and her invitation sits on the nightstand, a heavy cream card, her cursive sharp and precise glinting in the dim light. I run my thumb over its edges, the paper smooth but heavy like it carries the weight of our tangled past. I want to believe this night could mend something, could pull us back to when we shared late-night giggles under these same blankets. But my stomach knots a quiet warning. Janice's words have always had a way of cutting her laughter a mirror that makes me feel smaller than I am. Can one evening unravel years of that distance? I tuck the card into my suitcase, my eyes lingering on a crack in the window pane, the crickets' hum seeping through. Where are you watching from tonight? Share below, and please like and subscribe to hear how this unfolds. The cab's tires crunch on the gravel as I step out my navy dress, catching the fading sunlight, its simple lines feeling out of place against the grandeur of Janice's mansion. The house looms all sharp glass and polished steel, its windows glowing amber against the twilight. Laughter spills from the open doors, weaving through the soft jazz and the clink of crystal glasses. My boots thud on the marble steps, each one heavier, my purse clutched tight like a shield against the opulence. Inside the foyer is a kaleidoscope of silk gowns and tailored jackets, faces half recognized from old family albums or Janice's carefully curated social media. I scan the crowd for her, my heart clinging to a fragile hope that tonight we might find a moment, a thread to pull us closer like when we were kids, swapping secrets by flashlight. Janice sweeps toward me, her crimson gown shimmering under the chandelier, her heels clicking with purpose. Her hug is quick, perfunctory, her perfume sharp with citrus and something floral. "Natalie, you made it," she says, her voice bright, but her eyes slide past me to a couple in glittering attire, their watches catching the light. I smile, searching her face for a flicker of warmth, but she's already moving, drawn into a cluster of guests with a laugh that echoes. My chest tightens, a familiar ache, but I push it down, telling myself there'll be time later, maybe over a drink, to talk. I weave through the crowd, dodging polite nods and curious glances, feeling like a shadow in this glittering world. My cousin Beverly spots me near a table of shrimp cocktails and caviar, her gold earrings swaying as she leans in, her breath tinged with champagne. "Natalie, you look so put together," she says, her tone warm but probing. "Still in the army, huh? Why not go for something flashier like Janice's PR gigs?" Her words land like a subtle jab, her smile assuming my life is less by choice. I force a laugh, murmuring that I love my work, but the truth, classified missions, sleepless nights, decoding intel that saved lives, stays locked inside. She wouldn't understand not here, surrounded by wealth and chatter. I grab a glass of wine, its chill biting my palm, grounding me as the room hums with praise for Janice's latest campaign. I see our mother Gloria near a towering floral arrangement, her silver bracelet glinting as she gestures, regaling a stranger with stories of Janice's brilliance. She hasn't acknowledged me, her eyes fixed on the crowd, her laughter bright. The wine tastes sharp bitter on my tongue, and I wonder if I was naive to hope tonight could be different. Janice's voice rises, calling everyone to the ballroom for her welcome speech. I follow, lingering near a velvet curtain, its fabric heavy under my fingers, my heart still holding on to the idea of a moment with her. She stands on a low stage, radiant, her fiancé Roger beside her, his suit crisp, his gaze sweeping the room like a quiet sentinel. His eyes meet mine for a second, steady, almost knowing, and I wonder what he sees in me that others miss. "Thank you all for celebrating my big 3-0. Janice says, her smile dazzling, her voice carrying over the applause. The crowd claps and I join in, wanting to belong. She talks about her rise, her PR empire, her dream life built from scratch. Then her gaze lands on me, her tone shifting, playful but edged. Even Natalie's here, stepping out of her quiet little world for the night. The room laughs, a soft ripple that cuts like glass. My face burns, my fingers tightening around the wine glass. The first crack of the night settling deep in my bones. The laughter from Janice's quip clings to the air. A spotlight I can't escape. I stand by the curtain, the wine glass cold against my palm, my smile a fragile mask as the crowd's glances linger, some curious, some pitying, none truly seeing me. I want to slip out to flee this polished cage, but my feet stay rooted, a stubborn refusal to let her words win. I need to find her, to say something that might bridge the gap, to remind her of the sisters we used to be. I drift to a corner near a towering bookshelf, its leather-bound volumes smelling of dust and time, a brief refuge from the crowd's hum. A waiter offers bruschetta, but my stomach churns the thought of food turning sour. Janice's laughter floats from the center of the room where she's holding court with her colleagues. Her charm a magnet pulling everyone in. She hasn't looked my way since her speech, and I wonder if she feels the weight of her words, or if they're just another performance. I set my glass on a side table, my hands unsteady, the urge to leave battling the hope that's kept me here. Beverly finds me again, her champagne flute nearly empty, her cheeks flushed with warmth. "Oh, Natalie, don't take it personally," she says, her hand grazing my elbow like I'm a child needing comfort. "Janice just loves the stage. You know how she is." Her words aim to soothe, but they twist the knife, dismissing my hurt, as if it's my fault for feeling it. I nod my throat tight and slip toward the grand staircase, its polished banister cool under my fingers, a lifeline in the chaos. I need a moment to breathe, to steady the anger flickering inside. Roger stands alone near the stairs, leaning against a wall. His posture relaxed, but his eyes sharp, scanning the crowd like he's memorizing every face. He catches my gaze and offers a small nod, a quiet gesture that feels like an acknowledgement. It's strange how he seems to see me when no one else does, like he knows something I haven't said. I almost approach him, but Gloria's voice cuts through, bright and commanding. "Natalie, come here," she calls, standing with a woman in a sleek black dress, her badge gleaming with PR director. I walk over. My smile forced my boots heavy on the marble floor. "This is Shirley, Janice's right-hand woman," Gloria says, her pride unmistakable, her eyes barely meeting mine. Shirley's handshake is firm, her gaze appraising. "So you're the sister who keeps it simple," she says, her smile polite but cold. "Janice says you're all about staying under the radar. That's different." I swallow the urge to spill everything, the covert ops, the lives saved, because I can't not hear "not to her." I murmur something vague about my job, and Gloria dives into a story about Janice's latest deal, her voice glowing with admiration. I stand there invisible, the air thick, my chest aching with the weight of being unseen. I step back to the staircase, leaning against the banister, watching Janice charm a new group, her glass raised in a toast. I want to pull her aside to ask why she needs to dim my light to brighten hers. But her voice rises again, calling for another toast. To family, she says, her eyes skimming the crowd, even those who choose the quiet life. The crowd cheers, but her words slice deeper, deliberate, a performance to keep me small. My grip tightens my knuckles, white anger simmering as the hope I carried frays to threads. Janice's toast stings her quiet life, jab a blade wrapped in a smile. I stand by the staircase, fingers digging into the banister, my pulse hammering in my ears. The crowd's cheers fade, but the room feels tighter, squeezing the air from my lungs. I want to walk out to escape this glittering trap, but something holds me, defiance, or maybe a stubborn hope that we could still find each other like when we shared crayons and dreams. The party shifts to the dining room, a long table gleaming with silver and crystal under a chandelier's golden glow. I find my seat wedged between two of Janice's colleagues, who barely nod my way, their conversation a hum of corporate jargon. Across the table, Aunt Marilyn catches my eye, her smile warm but clueless, her pearls glinting as she leans close. "You must be so proud of Janice," she whispers, her voice soft with admiration. She's really carved her own path. I nod, my jaw tight, the words I can't say about covert missions, sacrifices made in silence, churning like a storm inside. Janice announces a slideshow. Her voice, bright as a screen, flickers to life at the room's front. Images flash her at galas shaking hands with CEOs. Her face on magazine covers, her smile polished and perfect. The guests clap some whistling as she narrates her ascent, her voice dripping with pride. Then a photo appears us, as teens me in a faded sweatshirt, her in a sparkling prom dress, her arms slung around me, but her smile brighter. "Look at us back then," she says, laughing lightly. "Natalie always kept it so practical." The room chuckles, and my cheeks burn the old wound of being her shadow tearing open. I glance at Roger seated near Janice, his fingers tapping the table, a faint crease in his brow. Does he see how she's framing me, reducing me to a footnote? Gloria sits beside him, her eyes locked on Janice, beaming like she's the only daughter here. I look down, my hands clenched in my lap. The slideshow droning on each image, a reminder of her spotlight and my silence. My fingers brush the military insignia pin in my pocket. It's cool metal, a quiet anchor, reminding me of the world where I'm more than her shadow. As the applause fades, I stand to slip away, needing air, the room's weight suffocating. But Janice's voice stops me. "Natalie, don't go yet." She calls, her tone teasing but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. "Tell us about your life. Everyone's curious." The room turns eyes expectant, pinning me in place. My heart sinks. She knows I can't share the truth, classified missions, lives protected by my silence. She's setting me up to falter, to prove I'm less. I search for words, my throat dry, but her smirk grows, daring me to fail. "Come on," she says, leaning forward, her glass catching the light. "Share your army adventures." Shirley snickers and a few guests laugh, the sound like needles pricking my skin. My chest tightens, anger and shame colliding in a storm. I want to scream about the nights I spent decoding threats, the lives saved by my silence. But I'm bound by duty. Not here. Not now. I stand there, the weight of their stares crushing Janice's challenge, a noose tightening around my voice. My mouth is dry, the truth. I can't share, locked behind years of duty. Heat creeps up my neck, my pulse a drumbeat in my ears. "I'm just happy to be here." I manage, my voice thin, betraying me under the pressure. Shirley's laugh cuts through, sharp and mocking. "That's it," she says, nudging Janice, her eyes glinting with amusement. The room titters, and I feel myself shrinking, the edges of my confidence fraying under their scrutiny. Janice raises her glass, redirecting the crowd with ease. "To living big," she says, her eyes glinting as they graze me, a challenge unspoken. Cheers erupt, but it feels like a door slamming shut, locking me out. I sit, my hands trembling in my lap. Gloria's gaze still fixed on Janice, laughing with Shirley across the table. I'm invisible again, the same old story playing out in this glittering room. My mind spirals to a summer barbecue years ago, Janice spilling juice on my sketchbook, calling it childish while Gloria waved it off with a smile. The memory burns, proof she's always needed me small to feel big. I try to focus on the clatter of silverware, the murmur of voices, but my thoughts churn dark and heavy. Marilyn's engrossed in Shirley's tale of Janice's latest client win, oblivious to the storm inside me. I want to shout about the coded messages I've cracked under pressure, the lives saved by my silence, but my work binds me a vow I can't break. My fingers find the military insignia pin in my pocket, its smooth surface a lifeline grounding me in the truth of who I am when no one's watching. Janice calls for dessert, her charm sweeping the crowd as she glides between tables, her laughter a melody that drowns me out. I sit, my plate untouched, the air thick with the scent of vanilla and wine. Shirley leans across the table, her voice low but caring, meant to be heard. "You must feel so out of place here, Natalie. Janice said you're more about duty than dazzle." Her words slice through the last of my hope, sharp and deliberate, leaving me raw. I glance at Roger, hoping for an ally, but he's staring at his plate, his jaw clenched, a storm brewing behind his eyes. The room blurs, the chandelier's light too bright, the laughter too sharp, like glass underfoot. I want to run, to leave this house and its weight behind forever. But Janice's voice cuts through again, closer now, her tone laced with mock concern as she pauses near my chair. "Natalie, you're so quiet tonight," she says, her eyes gleaming with something cruel, a predator circling. "Everything okay?" She's not asking out of care. She's baiting me, waiting for me to crack under the pressure of her stage. Janice's question hangs heavy, her false concern a weight pressing against my chest. The dining room closes in, the chatter fading to a dull roar, the air thick with the scent of roasted figs and candle wax. I try to speak, but my throat locks my fingers, digging into the military insignia pin in my pocket, its edges biting into my skin. I want to snap back to throw her words in her face, but my legs feel anchored, the room's eyes pinning me like a specimen under glass. The crowd senses the tension, their glances darting between us, waiting for my next move. Before I can find words, Roger stands his chair, scraping softly against the polished floor, silencing the room. He holds a glass of water, not wine, his posture rigid but calm like a soldier before a briefing. "I'd like to make a toast," he says, his voice steady, cutting through the hum of the party like a blade. Janice beams, expecting praise, her hand resting lightly on his arm, her nails catching the light. My heart pounds, his gaze flickering to me, intense, like he's carrying a secret I haven't unraveled. I lean forward, my breath shallow, wondering what he's about to do. To Janice, for this incredible night, he starts raising his glass, and the guests clap, their smiles bright. But his tone shifts sharper, like a blade unsheathing. And to someone else, who deserves recognition. He pauses, his eyes locking onto mine, unyielding. "Commander Natalie reporting in." The words crash like a tidal wave, sweeping the air from the room. Glasses halt halfway to lips, smiles freeze, and my breath catches my mind reeling. How does he know? My classified rank, my hidden life laid bare in front of this glittering crowd, exposed without my consent. Janice's face drains of color, her hand falling from Roger's arm, her lips parting in a silent gasp. She forces a laugh, high and brittle like glass about to shatter. "Roger, what's this about?" she says, her voice cracking, her eyes darting to me, pleading for me to deny it. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, confusion thick as fog. I'm exposed, my secret spilling out like blood no longer mine to guard. Gloria stares, her mouth slightly open, her eyes wide with shock as if seeing me for the first time. Shirley's smirk falters, her gaze bouncing between me and Janice, uncertain. Roger doesn't flinch, his voice clear, unwavering. "Natalie's a decorated intelligence officer," he says, each word deliberate like a hammer striking stone. "She's saved lives, led missions most of us can't even imagine, all without seeking the spotlight." His words dismantle Janice's carefully crafted narrative, each one a blow to the image she's built. I want to vanish, to rewind this moment and keep my truth hidden, but a strange relief flickers inside, a weight lifting I didn't know I carried. The room shifts, eyes turning to me with awe, curiosity, doubt. Janice's laugh turns sharp, almost desperate, her hands clenching at her sides. "This is my birthday, Roger," she snaps, her voice rising, trembling with barely contained rage. "Why are you doing this?" The guests shift uncomfortably, some whispering, others staring at me with new respect, others at Janice with growing doubt. My heart races, torn between shock at Roger's betrayal of my secret and a flicker of vindication as Janice's facade cracks. The night is shattered, and I'm caught in the wreckage, unsure if I'm grateful or betrayed. The silence is suffocating, broken only by a fork clattering on a plate, its echo sharp in the stillness. Roger's words reverberate in my skull, each one a jolt that shakes me to my core. I grip the edge of my chair, my knuckles white as every eye in the room turns to me, their weight like a physical force. Janice's face twists, her smile gone, replaced by a flash of raw panic that I've never seen before. She steps forward, her voice rising unsteady. "This is absurd," she says, forcing a chuckle that sounds like breaking glass. "Natalie's just a desk jockey in the army, right?" Her eyes dart to me, wide and pleading, begging me to agree to save her moment, to keep her stage intact. I can't speak, my throat tight. My secret life now, a spectacle laid bare for all to dissect. A guest, Kathleen, breaks the silence, her voice soft but piercing through the tension. "I heard about Natalie's service," she says, her eyes meeting mine with quiet respect. "My cousin was in her unit. He said she's a hero." Her words land like a grenade, detonating murmurs across the table, gasps and whispers rippling outward. Janice's eyes widen, her glass trembling in her hand, her breath catching as her control slips. Gloria stands her chair, scraping harshly, her voice sharp with accusation. "Natalie, why didn't you tell us?" she demands, her eyes boring into me as if my silence was a betrayal aimed at her. The words cut deeper than Janice's mockery, slicing through years of quiet sacrifices. I want to shout that I stayed silent for them, for duty, to protect the weight of what I carry, but my voice won't come. I'm raw, exposed like a wound laid open for the room to prod and stare at. Janice spins toward Roger, her voice low but venomous, barely containing her fury. "You planned this, didn't you? To ruin my night?" Her words tremble, her hands shaking as she grips the edge of the table. Roger's jaw tightens, but he doesn't respond, his gaze steady on me, unwavering, like he's anchoring me in the storm. The guests whisper, some leaning forward, hungry for more, others shifting awkwardly, caught in the crossfire. Marilyn, my aunt, looks between us, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly as if she's just realized she's misjudged me for years. Shirley's mouth opens, then closes, her earlier confidence crumbling like ash. Roger reaches into his jacket, pulling out a sealed envelope, its military crest stark against the crisp paper. "This was meant for Natalie privately," he says, his voice calm but firm, cutting through the chaos. "A commendation for her service." He slides it across the table toward me, the paper bright against the white tablecloth, a beacon in the storm. The room seems to tilt, the weight of his gesture crashing over me like a wave. Janice's eyes follow the envelope, her breath hitching her carefully constructed world, unraveling with each passing second. I stare at the envelope, my heart pounding so loud it drowns out the whispers, the clinks, the tension. I want to grab it, to run, to escape the stares and the weight of their eyes. Janice's voice breaks through, shrill, now desperate. "This is my party," she says, her hands shaking, her voice cracking under the strain. Not hers. Her words are a frantic claw for control, but they only deepen the chasm between us. I feel hollow, my life laid bare, my sister's envy a mirror reflecting my own buried pain, raw and unrelenting. The envelope sits on the table, its military crest glaring under the chandelier's harsh light, a silent challenge to the room's expectations. Janice's shrill words echo in my ears, her desperate claim to the spotlight fading into the murmurs of the crowd. My hands tremble, not with fear now, but with a spark of something fiercer, something unyielding. I can't stay silent anymore, not after Roger's revelation has stripped me bare, exposing my truth to a room that never cared to see it. I stand my chair, scraping softly against the polished floor, and every head turns, the air thick with anticipation. Janice freezes, her eyes wide, sensing the shift, her control slipping like sand through her fingers. I walk to the garden doors, needing air, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and resolve, the cool night air a sharp contrast to the room's stifling heat. The scent of jasmine is heavy, mingling with the distant hum of crickets. I lean against a stone pillar, the rough surface grounding me, the envelope still unopened in my hand, its weight a reminder of the life I've kept hidden. Roger follows his steps, quiet on the patio stones, his presence steady but heavy with guilt. "I'm sorry," he says, his voice low, raw with regret. "I couldn't watch her tear you down anymore." His eyes hold a mix of conviction and apology, like he's crossed a line he can't take back. "Why now?" I ask, my voice steady, despite the storm raging inside, the betrayal and gratitude warring in my chest. "You knew this would humiliate her." Roger sighs, running a hand through his hair, his face shadowed in the moonlight. "She's been lying to herself, to everyone about you," he says. "I thought the truth would set things right for both of you." His words hit hard, a tangled mix of loyalty and recklessness. He saw my worth when no one else did, but he exposed my secret without my consent, leaving me raw. I trace the envelope's edges, its paper cool against my fingers, the urge to tear it open warring with the need to keep it private. Not here, not with the whispers still echoing from the dining room. I tuck it into my purse, my resolve hardening like steel. I can't let Janice own this moment, can't let her define me any longer. I turn back to the dining room where the crowd has thinned. Some guests slipping out into the night, Others lingering with curious glances, their whispers a low hum. Janice is by the table. Her face flushed, her voice low and urgent as she speaks to Gloria, her hands gesturing sharply. I feel the weight of years of silence, of letting her dim my light to brighten hers. I walk back inside my boots, clicking on the marble, each step a choice, a refusal to be small. I reach the low stage where Janice gave her speech, my hand brushing the microphone stand, its metal cool and solid. The room quiets. Eyes turning to me, but this time I'm not shrinking, not hiding. I'm done being her shadow. I pick up the microphone, my fingers steady, the weight of it grounding me like an anchor. I need to say something. I say, my voice clear, cutting through the tension like a blade through silk. Janice's head snaps up, her expression, a mix of fear and defiance, her hands clenched at her sides. Gloria steps forward, her mouth opening to protest, but I raise a hand, silencing her. I'm not here to fight or boast. I'm here to be seen, to claim the truth I've carried in silence for too long. I hold the microphone, its weight steadying me as the room's murmurs fall silent, the air charged with expectation. Janice's eyes bore into me. Her hands clenched, her defiance a fragile mask. For years I let her words shape me, her laughter drowning out my truth, making me smaller to lift her higher. Not tonight. My voice trembles at first, then steadies, each word a step out of her shadow. I've spent my life serving, I say, working in the dark to keep people safe, not for praise, but because it's right. The words are raw, like peeling back a wound, exposing the core of who I am. The guests lean in, their faces softening, some nodding their eyes, no longer pitying, but curious, even awed. Kathleen, the guest who spoke earlier, gives me a small, encouraging smile. Her warmth, a quiet anchor. I take a breath, my fingers brushing the scar on my arm, hidden under my sleeve, a mark of battles no one here can imagine. This scar, I say, rolling up my sleeve to reveal the jagged line, its edges pale against my skin, came from a mission in a place I can't name. It's not a story for parties. It's my life, my truth. A gasp ripples through the room, soft but sharp, like a collective intake of breath. Gloria's hand flies to her mouth, her eyes wide with something like guilt, maybe regret. Janice's face crumples, her defiance cracking her shoulders, slumping under the weight of my words. I don't stop, my voice firm now, unyielding. I'm proud of what I do. I say not for applause, but because it matters. I don't need to outshine anyone to know my worth. The words aren't loud, but they carry, filling the space between us, a declaration that reshapes the air. Shirley shifts in her seat, her earlier smugness gone, her eyes darting away. Marilyn, my aunt, wipes her eyes, her head shaking slightly as if unlearning years of assumptions about me. I feel a tremor of power, not from their reactions, but from the act of speaking my truth, of standing in it unapologetically. For the first time, I'm not Janice's shadow, not the lesser sister. I'm Natalie, whole, unbowed, my life no longer a secret to be buried. Janice pushes through the crowd, her heels clicking sharply as she flees to the hallway. Her exit a silent admission of defeat. I don't follow. This isn't about her anymore. I set the microphone down, its weight no longer needed, and step off the stage, my steps steady. Roger catches my eye, his nod subtle but proud, a quiet acknowledgement of my courage. I return to my seat, the envelope still in my purse, unopened, but no longer a mystery. The room buzzes with whispers, but I feel lighter, like I've shed a weight I carried too long, a chain broken by my own voice. I sit, my gaze steady on the table, the crystal glasses glinting under the chandelier's glow. The scar on my arm feels alive, a quiet testament to my strength, a mark of battles fought in silence. I don't need Gloria's approval or Janice's or the crowd's. I've claimed my place, not with anger, but with truth. And for the first time, I feel like I belong in this moment in my own skin. The dining room is quieter now, the air thick with unspoken questions, the crystal glasses catching the light, but their sparkle hollow, empty of meaning. My words still hang in the room, my scar exposed, my truth laid bare for a crowd that never cared to look. The guests avoid my eyes, some fidgeting with napkins, others whispering to their neighbors, their voices low tinged with awe or uncertainty. I feel their stares like pinpricks, not judgmental now, but curious. Some reverent, as if they're seeing me for the first time. I keep my gaze on the table, steadying my breath, the weight of the moment settling like dust after a storm. My phone buzzes in my purse, a sharp vibration that jolts me from my thoughts. It's a text from Janice, short and cutting. "You had to steal my night, didn't you?" The words sting, but they don't pierce like they would have hours ago. I stare at the screen, her anger a reflex to reclaim control, but it's not my burden anymore. I've spoken my piece, and something has shifted like a tide turning, leaving her grasping at waves. I slip the phone back into my purse, my fingers brushing the envelope, its weight a quiet reminder of the truth I've claimed. Beverly approaches her steps hesitant, her champagne glass gone, her earrings no longer swaying with her usual confidence. "Natalie," she says sitting beside me, her voice soft, almost reverent. "I had no idea what you've done. I'm so sorry for earlier." Her eyes are earnest, stripped of their usual gossip, and for a moment I see the cousin who once shared her crayons with me. I nod, my throat tight, the ache of years of being overlooked still raw. "It's okay," I say. Though it's not. Not entirely. Her apology is a start, but it can't undo the past. Across the room, Gloria stands by the dessert table, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly, her silver bracelet catching the light. She hasn't come to me, and I'm not sure she will. Her glance flicks to me, then away, her lips pressed thin, a silent wall between us. It hurts, that distance, more than I expected, like a bruise I thought had faded. I've always been the steady one, the one who didn't need her gaze. But now I wonder if she ever truly saw me, or if I was just the backdrop to Janice's shine. Roger lingers near the doorway, his posture tense, his eyes scanning the crowd like a soldier on watch. I catch his gaze and he gives a small nod, a quiet anchor in the storm. I want to ask him why he chose tonight, what drove him to break my silence. But the moment feels too fragile, like a thread that might snap. The envelope in my purse feels heavier now, its contents a mystery I'm not ready to face. Not with the crowd still buzzing their whispers, a low hum of my name, my service, my truth. Kathleen approaches, her smile warm but cautious, her steps light on the marble floor. "I meant what I said," she whispers, her voice steady like she's speaking to a friend. "My cousin told me about you, how you saved his unit. You're incredible, Natalie." Her words are a balm, soothing the raw edges of my exposure, but they also sharpen the ache I never wanted to be a spectacle, my life dissected at a party. I murmur a thank you, my voice low, my chest tight with the weight of being seen in a way I never chose. The room feels suspended, like everyone's holding their breath, waiting for the next move in a play I didn't write. Janice hasn't returned, her laughter's absence a void that shifts the air. I sit, my hands folded, the scar on my arm tingling under my sleeve, a quiet reminder of my strength. I've claimed my truth, but the cost settles in heavy and cold, a reckoning I didn't expect. Kathleen's words linger warm but heavy as she steps back into the crowd, her silhouette fading into the sea of suits and gowns. The dining room feels smaller, the air stale despite the open windows, the scent of candle wax and wine clinging to everything. I sit, my hands still folded, the envelope a quiet weight against my thigh, its presence both a comfort and a burden. The guests' chatter resumes, but it's subdued, like they're tiptoeing around the truth I've laid bare, their whispers carrying fragments of my name. My service words like hero that feel foreign, almost invasive. My phone buzzes again, another text from Janice. "You've ruined everything." The words are sharp like a blade aimed at my heart, but they don't cut as deep as they would have before. I stare at the screen, her anger a desperate grasp for control, a reflex to pull me back into her shadow. My fingers hover, tempted to fire back, to tell her she built this moment with every jab, every laugh at my expense. But I slip the phone back into my purse, my resolve cooling like stone. I spoke my truth to stand in it, not to wound her. Her reaction is hers to carry, not mine. Roger approaches his steps, measured, his face etched with regret, shadows pooling under his eyes. He sits across from me, the table a barrier between us. "I didn't mean to blindside you," he says, his voice low, raw, like he's been carrying his own secrets too long. I just couldn't let her keep diminishing you. His words are heavy-laced with a sincerity that surprises me, like he's been watching this play out longer than I realized. I nod, unsure what to say. My emotions tangled, gratitude for his defense, anger for exposing me. His choice has rewritten the night, and I'm not ready to thank him, not yet. Gloria finally moves toward me, her steps slow, hesitant, her fingers clutching the necklace she's worn since I was a child, a silver chain with a tiny cross that glints in the light. She stops a few feet away, her eyes avoiding mine, her shoulders hunched. Natalie, she starts, her voice barely above a whisper, why didn't you tell me? The question isn't curious. It's an accusation laced with hurt, as if my silence was a personal betrayal. I look at her, searching for the mother who used to braid my hair, who sang off-key lullabies, but I see only a stranger caught in Janice's orbit, her love always tilted toward the brighter star. I say, my voice steady but soft, like speaking to a ghost. It wasn't about hiding. It was about duty, about protecting what I do. She flinches, her lips parting, but no words come. She turns away, her shoulders stiff, rejoining the guests, leaving me with the echo of her question. The rejection settles deep, a familiar ache sharpened by the weight of her misunderstanding, like a wound reopened just when I thought it had healed. I stand, needing to move, and wander to a window overlooking the garden, its shadows deep and still, the jasmine scent faint now, barely reaching me. Inside, the party limps on its energy, drained, the laughter muted. Shirley avoids my gaze, her earlier bravado gone, her hands fidgeting with a napkin. Marilyn approaches, her hand gentle on my arm, her perfume soft with lilac. I misjudged you, Natalie, she says, her voice thick with emotion. I'm so proud of you. Her words are kind, a small light in the dark, but they can't fill the hollow space Gloria's silence leaves. My phone rings, the sound jarring in the quiet, cutting through the murmurs. It's Eugene, my commanding officer, his voice gruff but warm over the line. Heard you had quite a night, he says, a hint of pride in his tone. You handled it with grace. New assignments waiting when you're ready. His words are a lifeline, pulling me back to the world where I'm seen, where my work speaks for itself. I thank him, my voice catching, and hang up the phone, heavy in my hand. Outside, the stars are sharp, unyielding, a reminder of the world beyond this room. Inside, I feel the weight of a family I may never fully have, the cost of my truth sinking in like a stone in still water. The morning after the party, I drive to a park near my base where the world feels softer, quieter, the kind of place where thoughts can settle. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of dew-soaked grass and pine, the ground damp under my sneakers as I walk a winding path lined with wildflowers. My purse, still holding the unopened envelope, weighs heavy on my shoulder, a quiet reminder of the night before. I find a bench under a sprawling oak, its branches casting dappled shadows, and sit watching joggers pass, their breath clouding in the cool air, their steps a steady rhythm. For the first time in days, my chest doesn't feel like it's caving in, the knot inside, loosening just a fraction. I think about Janice's texts, their venom sharp, but fading like a storm passing in the distance. Speaking my truth at the party shifted something like a locked door creaking open, letting light into a space I'd kept dark. I'm not free of the hurt, not yet, but its edges are softening like a bruise fading under careful touch. The park hums with lifebirds, chirping, a dog barking faintly, the rustle of leaves overhead, and I let it ground me, pulling me back to the core of who I am. My phone stays silent. No new messages from Gloria or Janice, and I don't expect them. Gloria's silence at the party spoke louder than words, and Janice is likely still reeling, her pride wounded. I lean back, closing my eyes, letting the sun warm my face, its heat a small comfort. A memory surfaces. Not of Janice or the party, but of my father years ago, sitting with me on our old porch swing, the wood creaking under our weight. He called me his steady star, said my quiet strength didn't need a spotlight to shine. I'd buried that memory under years of duty, but it rises now, clear and warm, like a hand reaching across time. I open my purse, my fingers hesitating before breaking the envelope's seal, the paper crinkling softly. Inside is a letter from my unit commending a mission that saved a dozen lives. Its formal words carrying a weight that settles in my chest. It's not about glory. It's about the lives I touched, the work I've done in the dark. I tuck the letter back, my heart steadier, Eugene's call from last night echoing in my mind, a tether to the world where I'm enough, where my work speaks louder than any party. A squirrel darts across the path, pausing to stare at me with bright, curious eyes, before scampering into the underbrush. I smile, the first real one in days, small, but genuine. I stand brushing off my jeans, the denim rough under my palms, and walk deeper into the park, where a small clearing waits a patch of earth I've chosen for a sapling I've been meaning to plant for months. It feels right, a quiet act of growth, of rooting myself in my own truth. I kneel, my hands sinking into the soft earth, the dirt cool and gritty under my nails, a promise to myself taking shape with each careful press. The soil yields under my fingers as I press the sapling's roots into the earth, its delicate branches trembling in the breeze. The park is silent now, the joggers gone, only the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a crow overhead. I pat the ground firm, the act small but deliberate, a vow to build something new, something mine rooted in the truth I've claimed. I don't need Janice's approval or Gloria's gaze to know my worth. I'm planting that here in this quiet earth. I stand wiping my hands on my jeans, the dirt smudging the fabric, a mark of my commitment to growth. I walk back to my car, the gravel crunching underfoot, the air lighter now carrying the faint scent of pine. The drive to Gloria's house is short, the streets lined with old oaks and memories of bike rides and skinned knees. I hadn't planned to visit, but something pulls me there, a need to face the past before stepping fully into my future. Her house looks smaller than I remember, the paint peeling at the edges, the porch sagging slightly under the weight of years. I knock, my heart calm but heavy like a stone smoothed by a river. Gloria opens the door, her eyes tired, her hair loose falling in soft waves around her shoulders. "Natalie," she says, stepping aside, her voice soft but strained. We sit at the kitchen table, the same one where we argued as kids, its surface scratched from years of use. She pours tea, her hands trembling slightly, the kettle's steam curling in the air. "I was wrong," she says, her voice low, raw, with a vulnerability I haven't heard in years. "I lifted Janice up because I thought she needed it, thought she was fragile. I didn't see your strength." Her words are unguarded, cutting through the years of distance, and for once I believe her sincerity. I sip the tea, its warmth spreading through me, chamomile and honey, soothing the edges of my heart. "I didn't need you to see me," I say, my voice soft but firm, like a truth. "I've only just learned to speak. I needed you to trust I was enough, that I didn't have to shine like Janice to matter." She nods, tears brimming her fingers, twisting the edge of her napkin. I think of my father again, his voice calling me steady, his hand warm on my shoulder. He saw me even when she couldn't, and that memory anchors me now. We talk a little more about small things, the weather, her garden, the roses she's trying to save from aphids. I don't ask about Janice, and she doesn't bring her up, the absence a silent agreement. When I leave, the air feels lighter, the weight of her expectations no longer mine to carry like a cloak I've set down. I drive back to my base, the road stretching under a pale sky, the horizon soft with dawn's first light. At a stoplight, I glance at the sapling spot in the distance, its leaves catching the sun, a small green thing growing in its own time, steady and unhurried. Months later, I'm settled at a new base tucked in rolling hills, where the air smells of pine and earth, a world away from Janice's mansion. My apartment is small, a one-bedroom, with a window framing pines that sway in the wind, their needles whispering secrets to the sky. I wake before dawn, brewing coffee, as the horizon turns pink, the machines hum, a steady companion. The routine grounds me, a rhythm I've carved from the chaos of that night. My desk holds a stack of novels, not military manuals, their pages worn from late-night reading, a new habit that fills the spaces where hurt used to linger like sunlight slipping through cracks. Work is intense, leading a small team decoding intel under tight deadlines, the hum of computers and the scratch of pens a familiar cadence. My colleagues know my record from briefings, not gossip, and call me commander with respect, their nods, a quiet acknowledgement of my place. Eugene checks in weekly, his gruff voice a comfort over the phone like a mentor who's seen me through darker days. "You're doing good work, Natalie," he said last week, his tone warm but firm. "Don't let the noise pull you back." I smiled, the phone warm against my ear, grateful for his clarity, his belief in me that doesn't demand applause. I walk to the base most days, the gravel path crunching under my boots, the air clean, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine resin. The party feels distant now, like a photograph left too long in the sun, its edges blurred, its colors faded. Janice hasn't reached out since her texts, and I've stopped checking my phone for her name. The silence no longer a wound, but a fact like the changing seasons. I think of her sometimes, but not with anger, more with a quiet sadness for the sister we might have been. One evening I drive to my childhood home unannounced, the impulse sudden, but unshakable. The porch light glows, casting a warm circle over the steps, the paint chipped but familiar. Gloria answers, her face softer than I remember, her eyes carrying a weight I hadn't noticed before. She invites me in and we sit in the living room, surrounded by old furniture, the couch sagging under memories of family movie nights. She doesn't mention Janice, and I don't ask, the silence a fragile truce. We talk about my father instead, how he used to hum off-key while tinkering with the car, his hands stained with grease. It's a small memory, but it weaves us together, a thread across the years. I leave with a box of his things, papers, trinkets, a pocket knife with a worn handle. Back at my apartment, I sift through them, under the glow of a single lamp, finding a journal he kept, its pages yellowed, its ink faded but legible. His handwriting is neat, deliberate, like he weighed every word. I read a line about me, calling me his anchor, the one who held steady through storms. My throat tightens, but I don't cry, the weight of his love settling over me, soft and sure, like a blanket I'd forgotten I owned. I set my father's journal on the shelf, its presence a quiet anchor in my new life, a reminder of a love that saw me clearly. A few days later, I'm back at the house, climbing the narrow stairs to the attic, where I find Janice packing boxes, her movements slow, deliberate. Her hair is tied back, her face bare of makeup, softer than I've ever seen, like she's shed the armor of her public self. She looks up startled, her eyes wide for a moment, and we're just two sisters caught in the dust motes swirling in the attic's dim light. "I didn't expect you," she says, her voice low, almost fragile, like a thread about to snap. We sit on the attic floor, surrounded by forgotten toys. A plastic horse with a missing leg, a board game with faded squares and old photos curling at the edges. She doesn't apologize, not directly, but her words carry a weight I haven't heard before, a vulnerability she's never shown. "I was always jealous," she admits, her fingers tracing a crack in the floorboard, her nails chipped, unpolished. "You had Dad's strength, his quiet way of being enough. I wanted that, needed it." Her voice catches, and I see the girl who used to steal my crayons, not out of malice but to feel seen. I listen, my heart steady, no longer racing for her approval or fighting to be heard. "I've found my place," I say, my voice calm like a river finding its course. "Not in your shadow, but in my own light, where I don't need to compete to matter." The words aren't sharp, but they're true, a boundary drawn in the dust between us. We don't hug, don't promise to mend everything, don't erase the years of hurt. Instead, we share a silence, not warm but honest, a small step towards something real, something that might grow in time. I leave her there, the attic dim behind me, and drive back to my apartment under a starlit sky, the air cool through the open window. I start a journal of my own, not about missions or medals, but about small, quiet things, the bitter tang of morning coffee, the whisper of pines outside my window, the way the sky shifts from pink to gold at dawn. It's my way of holding space for myself, of choosing peace over the pain I've carried too long. The lesson isn't loud or grand, not a victory shouted from rooftops. It's in the quiet moments, the choice to let go of what others expect to carry my worth without needing their eyes to see it. Truth isn't a weapon to wield or a crown to wear, it's a gift to live, even when it hurts, even when it costs. I'm not whole yet, Not fully healed, but I'm building day by day a life that's mine, rooted in the steady strength my father saw in me. And that's enough, more than enough. What truth have you held back to keep the peace, and what did it cost you? Share your story below in the quiet space where we can all be heard. If this moved you, please subscribe, and share to spread this journey of finding light. Thank you for listening, for sitting with me in this moment. Here's to building your own steady strength wherever you are.